everyone, I'm Ryan and I'm one of the licensed real estate salesperson in PropNext, currently leading a team as well. So today, right, the topic that I will be discussing will be how can you potentially spot projects that may reduce price. So how do I came about this topic is because lately, when I'm in the show flat, right, a lot of my customers will actually ask me this question or even have this concern on whether the projects that they are interested in, right, will have a massive discount. This is very normal because I fully understand that every buyers wants to buy at the lowest point. Therefore, I personally did a lot of research and analysis to understand the behavior of developers. And let me just load up the slides. So what will we be discussing today? First of all, we'll be discussing what are the three factors that actually cause developer to reduce price. And also, how do you actually spot projects that may increase price instead of reducing the price? Okay, so we'll be using some of the various case study as an example. Okay, so the number one key point to spot projects that may reduce price is to monitor the transaction, the number of units sold in a development, as well as the percentage. So why is this important is because if a development, right, has already achieved a sales of 70 to even 80%, naturally the developers will not want to reduce their prices. Why is this so? It's because they're only left with 20% of the remaining units for sale. In fact, naturally, when they are left with so little supply, they might want to increase their price to achieve a higher profit margin. So in this case, you might really want to understand what is the percentage of the units sold in within a development. Okay, the second thing is to monitor the recent activities, meaning the numbers of units sold weekly. So why is this so important is because if in a development, right, every week there is 50 units moving, 50 units of the units being sold, naturally the developers will feel that their project is in a very healthy state because they are generating a very healthy demand. Naturally, they will not want to adjust their pricing downwards. Okay, so continuing on, we will now discuss how will the profit margin of the developer actually affect you as a buyer, and we'll be using some of the case study on a few projects and to analyze. So we have this project in Queenstown called Margaret Ville. In my opinion, this is quite a good location because you can actually travel to town within driving distance. All right. And the best thing is that for Margaret Ville, right, you can see that the land cost, it is actually 997 PSF. And after adding all the costs like construction cost, land financing, professional tax, and marketing costs, right, the break even comes out to be 1516 per square foot. So what does this mean? 1516 per square foot. Okay, this actually means that if today, right, you were to enter into Margaret Ville at 15-ish per square foot, actually developer, they do not have a very huge profit margin to play with. Okay, so how will this actually affect you? Let's take a look at the chart. So for Margaret Ville, right, you can see that it was launched during the July 18 period. I still remember during this period of time, we are experiencing en bloc frenzy, and a lot of buyers are in a mad rush to buy property because they already know that future prices are going to be even higher. That's why developer, right, when they are launching this project, they are also very optimistic. Instead of launching at 15 to 16, they actually launch at close to 19, which is a profit margin of 400. Okay, so you can see that from this chart, those who bought from day one, actually they may not be buying at the lowest. In fact, when the demand starts to come in, developer actually inch up the price a little before we see a reduction in prices. Okay, so why suddenly there's such a sharp fall in terms of prices? It's because I'm not too sure whether are you aware, during in the end of 1/8 period, actually government have announced a new cooling measure that is actually to increase the tax and also reduce the loan amount for buyers. So in actual fact, when government actually release these new measures, right, the demand for projects actually fall sharply, and as a result, developer actually have to reduce their pricing. Okay, you can see that they reduce all the way slightly around 1.6 plus. Okay, thereafter, when the demand starts to come back, developer inch up the price again. Okay, so why are they able to do a reduction? It's because they actually have a profit margin to play with. Okay, so you might really want to analyze whether the development you are buying in, whether you are paying a high profit margin for it. Okay, the second example that we will be using will be Tre Residence. Okay, same thing. Tre Residence is located in Aljunied, right? It's walking distance toward Aljunied MRT. And of course, the break even works out to be 1,002 plus per square foot. Okay, so let's take at the chart for Tre Residence. Okay, so in 1.5, when they first launched this project, you can see that actually developer, they are also having a very good profit margin. All right. Thereafter, the price actually dropped a bit, stabilized. All right. And of course, they inch up a bit again, and then have a reduction in prices. So why is there such a sharp reduction in prices? It's because I remember they did a phase 2 launch. And of course, during this period of time, Aljunied has the biggest competitor. It's actually Sims Urban Oasis. And of course, with all the supply coming in, developer actually reduced the price to make their project competitive. Okay, the key thing is that today, right, if you were to enter higher, okay, for developers to make a profit, eventually, because they have the profit margin to play with, they may reduce the price. Okay, so you can see that those who bought here are actually the safest. So all these are actually new launch chart. This is not the resale chart that we actually show you the actual profit. Later we have a few. Later I have one example to show you for the actual one, which actually shows the profit margin buying at the lowest point. Okay, so this is for Tre Residence. Okay, the next example is actually Grandeur Park in Tanah Merah, right? Walking distance to Tanah Merah as well. Okay, you can see that the break even is 1,002 plus per square foot. Okay, so for Grandeur Park, right, you can see that it was launched during the 1.7 period. So developer, because I still remember they have beside Grandeur Park, there's Glades still ongoing for sales when they actually launched Grandeur Park. So developer decided to play a more cautious strategy. They decided to launch it at the lower price. So again, the break even, it is actually 1.2. They decided to launch it lower at around 1.4 plus, right? Average 1.4, 1.3 to 1.4. Okay, and you can see that when the demand starts to pick up, eventually they increase the price. Okay, so this is for Grandeur Park. And Gem Residences, this is located in Toa Payoh. Okay, same thing. The break even is 1,002 plus per square foot. Okay, so for Gem Residences, it is also the same thing. The developer, when they launch this project, they actually launch it close to the break even. All right, and from there, when the demand starts to come in, they actually stage up the price. So now I still remember for Gem, when they first launched, it is around 1.4 plus, and I think I have one example over here. You can see that during 1.6 period, when they launched this, when a buyer bought 2807 for 1,004 100 plus per square foot. And I mean, through the cost of construction, actually they increase price several rounds. You can see that during 1/8 period, when it's closer to TOP, there is this particular unit that sold 3507, transacted at 2,000 per square foot. Okay, so you can see that the difference between 2807 and 3503, right? The difference is as much as 535,000. So why am I sharing with you this example? Is because today, if you were to enter at a lower, closer to the developer break even, right? Actually, they do not have much profit margin to play with. So even if they really want to reduce their price, they can only reduce to their break even. Okay, so but of course, if you're entering at a high profit margin kind of project, then you might want to analyze whether in future will they actually drop price, because they do have a profit margin to play with. So with that, in the event that the market is not doing very well, they can jolly well just reduce their price to move their sales. Okay, so this is for Gem Residence. This is the example that I'm going to show you with the actual profits being realized. So for Panorama, right, it is located in Ang Mo Kio. All right, so same thing, the break even is 1,200 plus per square foot. Okay, you can see that those who bought in day one, actually they bought it for 1,300 to 1,400 per square foot. Developer is making a decent profit margin. Okay, so for eventually for Panorama, I would say because of the surrounding supply over there is very scarce. When it comes to resale, the demand is still very strong. So those who bought in day one, you can see over here, actually they make a average profit of 128,000. Okay, so what happened to Panorama is during this period of time, actually developer did a reduction in prices, and those buyers who enter at this point, you can see it's quite close to the break even. Eventually, they actually make more. How much more? Profit margin of average 300K. So to summarize this segment, okay, if you were to see or come across any projects, right, that has a very high profit margin, yet the percentage of units sold are very little, then that if you fit into these two criteria, there is a chance that actually developer might reduce the price. Okay, so just now we have discussed about the transaction volume within a development as well as the profit margin of a developer. In fact, one of the most crucial point will be the profit margin. If you're able to know the profit margin, you probably will already understand whether will they have a further reduction in terms of prices. Okay, so for the last point, right, we will be discussing on the units that have yet to exercise. So what does this mean? Example, for project A, right, they have already sold 500 units, but maybe 300 units haven't exercised, meaning they haven't confirmed the deal yet. Okay, maybe because the buyers need time to sell their place, or they need more time to raise funds. All right, so today, right, if this buyer do not exercise the unit and walk away from the deal, what do they actually lose? They will actually have a penalty involved. So for example, for $1 million property, they have placed a 5% deposit to secure the unit. And end of the day, if they decided not to exercise and walk away from the deal, they actually lose $12,500. Okay, the remaining 37,500 will be refunded back. Okay, so imagine if the developer decided to reduce price by 100,000, what will happen to those buyers that do not exercise? They may just forfeit the unit and go for another unit instead. Okay, so that's why just now in the example for Gem Residences, what we saw is that instead of reducing the price, developer actually increase the price. So this will actually make the previous buyers happy, okay? But of course, we are not talking about a 10% increment or that 20% increment in today's market sentiment. Definitely 1 to 2% increment, uh, they are able to do it just to make the previous buyer happy. Okay, so uh, of course, with the latest measure right now, the developer, they are not able to do the reissue anymore. But I'm referring to the past launches that still have inventory. Okay, so in summary, right, today we have touched on the three key pointers on how you can actually spot a project that may reduce price. Number one will be understand what is the percentage of units sold versus the transaction volume. All right. And the second thing will be the profit margin of developer, okay, in terms of the break-even price versus the current price that they are selling right now. All right. So as previously what I've shown you on the previous example, right, buying on day one may not necessarily be buying at the lowest. In fact, there are some examples that the future buyers actually bought cheaper than the day one buyers. So this one, if you really need to know what is the break-even prices, you can always drop me a PM. All right. I'll be more than happy to help you to understand more. Okay. So um, if you are able to fit in criteria one and criteria two, right, I personally feel that this project is a very good product that you can really consider. All right. Of course, now it's a buyer's market. That's why we are able to find products that is very close to break even. When it's during the seller's market, naturally the developer will want to make more. Uh, if a land is being bought at 1,000 per square foot, they may want to launch at 1,005 to even 1,006. Okay, so for number three, right? Okay, the non-exercise cases in the market. Of course, this one I'm unable to give you an exact figure, but roughly in the market, I would say 30% of the buyers, right, within the development, most of them they haven't exercised yet because they really need more time to sell their place. All right, okay. So for this example, 0501 sold for 1 million, right? Okay, do you think that the developer will actually drop price for 0601 to 950K? Okay, so imagine for the 0501, they haven't exercised yet. Okay, and if developers decided to drop 0601 to 950, what will happen to the 0501 buyer? So that's why I really urge you, if you really need more information on this, you can always drop me a PM. Okay, so overall, in summary, these are the three pointers that I actually use to spot project that may reduce price, or if not, they might even increase price. And I hope that you can stay tuned our video. I'll be touching on a few more interesting topics that we can look forward to. Okay, thank you.